Hi friends! If you're watching this, it's probably because you're either going to have a baby or you've already had a baby recently and you are looking for different things that are helpful for your life. My name is Tu, and this is the first tutorial video ever. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a few recommendations as far as breast pumps go. If you're wanting to breast pump or wanting to breastfeed your child and you're either wanting to make a supply or just have some left over for a rainy day, I'd recommend, well, it's not that I recommend, but these are the three that I've been using. I really love the Spectra. That was actually a hand-me-down that one of my friends gave me, and at first I was really grossed out because I thought that we were actually sharing the same parts, but I actually got new parts. Just so, like, the flange, if you're wondering what a flange is and you haven't used your breast pump yet, this is a flange. These are for the Spectrum parts. Anyway, so this is a flange. This is what actually is like suctioned onto your boob, and this is like a duck valve, and then you also have these like tubes. So with the Spectrum and most of the other pumps, they're actually called closed system pumps, meaning my breast milk isn't gonna get like sucked into the actual pump itself. That's what I thought in my mind. I was like, oh, it goes through the machine and our breast milk's gonna touch each other, and that's not how it works. Literally, the flange is on your boob, then you put this little cup, or you can use kind bags. That's what I use just because I didn't want to have to keep washing them all the time. Put this onto the pump, you put this tube, you attach the tube, and then it goes through the machine. So once it goes through, it doesn't actually go through the machine. Okay, so the pump suctions it, and you put, okay, like so, and the pump actually like has a suction motion, and the breast milk actually goes from here straight down into the bottle. So it's not actually going through the machine, which is what I thought it was. That's what I thought these tubes were. I thought that the breast milk went into the tubes, but it doesn't at all. So if you have a friend or know of anyone that's donating a breast pump, get it, because they're expensive if your insurance doesn't cover it, and sometimes it's just nice to try a bunch of different ones to see what works for you. Everybody's body is different, and so I found that having several different ones to try out was really helpful. So the Spectrum was given. I had the pink one, which is, I don't remember what model that is, but it's the one that you can plug in. A lot of my friends have the portable one, which one, my insurance didn't cover, and secondly, my friend donated it or like let me use hers. So I didn't get the portable one because I didn't have to pay for it. My insurance did cover, they technically would have covered the Spectrum, but instead I ended up getting the Ameda Mya, which this is the Amida Maya. I typically am an early adopter, so if I see something new and it seems like it's a good fit for my needs, I will try it, even though a lot of people haven't. At the time, there were no reviews on the Amida Maya. I will say, like, I wish there were more reviews, but there weren't. So that's why I'm kind of having this on. I'm making a video about it because not a lot of reviews are out there, so this is a good option. This is technically it's considered a portable one. You can basically plug in a battery pack to the wall, and this itself, you can walk around with this. Is it cumbersome? Yes. So you basically attach it with a bra, you put the little bra in, you have these little cups hanging and dangling from your boobies while you're washing the dishes or whatever, and you can walk around with it instead of either one being attached to the wall or two having to carry around an actual pump. This is a great in-between if you don't want to spend the money on an Elvie or I think the Willow. I can tell you about those two as well. So this is a great option. This is like 160 or something if you want to buy it out of pocket. I will say the suctioning and the pump action isn't as strong as the Spectrum. Like, it does a pretty decent job, but the Spectrum is a lot more powerful. I will say, when I first started pumping, I had really tender nipples, everything was hurting, everything was really sensitive. And so the first, I'd say like 4 months, this was perfect because it just kind of primed my body. It was a gentle enough suction where it got the milk out, but it wasn't so painful to the point where I just like wanted to die. I will say there's a good midpoint. Like, I didn't turn this on its highest just because the higher you turn this on, the slower each pump. So if you put it, I think it was like 4 or 5, it was a quicker pump, just strong enough to pull out the milk, but it was a quick pump versus if you turn it on the highest level, it's a stronger suction, but it doesn't suction as quickly. So let's say it's like, you know, let's say it's per like second, it would be like 2 pumps per second, but it'd be stronger. Whereas on the 4 section, it would be like 5 pumps per second and it would be not as strong. Does that make sense? But anyway, this was a great option. The great thing about this is if you have this and the Spectrum, they have the same parts. So not only does the battery pack or battery adapter or wall adapter, it's the same as the Spectra. So, and also it's the same, they have the same flange attachments, which is really great because then I had an extra set of these, so I didn't have to keep washing a brand new set every time I wanted to use one versus the other. So if I was starting off using this and I was like, this isn't strong enough, I could literally just pull off these and attach it to the Spectrum and it would all be the same parts. So I would say that's something that's very helpful. It's also nice to have just a plug that you can just switch from station to station. So sometimes I would pump in the living room, sometimes I would pump in my bedroom, sometimes I would pump in the nursery. So I would literally have the wall adapter plugged in and I would just go from each place versus having to unplug. I know it sounds so menial and ridiculous, but having to reach around the couch and go plug it in, it was just one more thing that made me like hate pumping. So having the different wall adapters already in place was so much easier. Going back to the bottles, I would say we loved using the Kind bottle system. You can get attachments for each type of flange, and so that way you don't have to keep washing these bottles. I will say they don't screw on as tight, and I can't tell you how many times the bag actually fell off and I would die a little bit inside every time. So I will definitely say consider that and make sure you tighten everything, maybe even put tape around it if you want to, but make sure it's all tight because yeah, it's heartbreaking to see any amount of breast milk on the ground or not in your baby's mouth. Going to the next type of pump, I also got the Elvie. So I'm a wedding photographer by trade. I had several weddings booked. Granted, it was all during COVID, so a lot of my weddings were postponed, but I had several weddings booked while I was still pumping, and I needed something because like these are great. It's like somewhat portable, but they are definitely not inconspicuous. Like if you're pumping, you definitely have your tits out. So I would say the Elvie was great to have because I could just put it in my bra inconspicuously. I could pump and then everything was fine. Like I could pump while I was eating dinner and not a lot of people knew that I was even pumping as long as I wore a pretty loose shirt. I will say it's definitely not something I used on a regular basis because one, it was actually really painful because they have like it's all plastic, it's not silicone. It just, for some reason, it didn't ease you into the pumping, like it didn't prime you, I guess. Whereas like these other pumps will start off on a low setting and then it'll increase like this one does. I don't think the Spectrum does, but you can also do it manually yourself. The Elvie, you don't really have the option for that, and it goes straight in and you'll just grab your nipples and then just start pumping away. So that's one of the cons for me. The second cons is like it would pump, but sometimes if your nipple wasn't in there properly, it would just chew up your nipple and you wouldn't have any milk. And so it definitely takes a few times to adjust, readjust before it actually gets the good grab and will suction properly. Another thing is if you're not completely sitting upright, it will leak. it will leak everywhere, and then you'll have breast milk all over your shirt. So that was definitely something that was frustrating for me. I figured if I'm paying $500 for a pump that it should be perfect or close to perfect, and it wasn't. Another thing, it was kind of inconsistent for me. I mean, it did the job, whereas like it would relieve the pressure for however long I needed it to, but it just wasn't, I don't know. I recommend it for working moms and moms that are on the go, especially I would pump in the car all the time, but it's not gonna be your workhorse. So definitely have a different pump on hand. Don't have that be your only one. Also, the battery is also finicky, so definitely have one of those cell phone chargers or the USB chargers on hand. What I would do if I knew that I needed it, I would just plug them into the USB charger and just have it in my bag plugged in throughout like the entire day until I actually needed it, because there was a few times where I needed it and it wasn't plugged in beforehand, and I turned it on and it wasn't working because I guess like I left it uncharged or unplugged in for too long, and over time it just drains the battery. So, you know, it's really frustrating. So that's another thing. Get a USB charger block, plug it in until you need it, and then you're good to go. Another annoying thing that I didn't like about the Elvie is that you're trying to be inconspicuous with these pumps, but there's two lights right where your nipples should be. And so I kind of felt like I was some character on an Austin Powers movie where, you know, I had glowing nipples and there should have been guns shooting breast milk out of my boobs. And so that's another thing that was so annoying. And I was like, some dude probably decided that it was a good idea and really helpful and cool if there were lights where the nipples should be. Dumb, okay? I just was not a huge fan. There could have been lights anywhere else but where the nipples should be, but that wasn't the case. So whatever they thought would be inconspicuous about this pump, the lights made it a lot more noticeable. It was kind of embarrassing because I'd be pumping during a wedding and someone would walk in, they're like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on there? So yeah, I know it seems minor, but it was just silly. Maybe if they did a beeping noise instead of the lights, or maybe they just didn't have lights at all, or maybe they had it somewhere else, or maybe they could have had it where, you know, it's covered. But anyway, those are my 2 cents about breast pumps. Another thing you'll want to consider when going down this path, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I bought like 15 pumping bras because nothing ever quite seemed right with any of them. I bought a bunch of them on Amazon. Thankfully, Amazon's got a great return policy, so I ended up returning like 90% of the bras that I bought. The ones I did keep were, I think this is the Dairy Fairy. This is not the best bra, but is the prettiest, I will say. It's great because it can also double as just a nursing bra. And the one thing I didn't like about it is that, so this is mesh. I don't think you can see it, but my nipples were so tender for the first several months that I was like breastfeeding and pumping, that just this mesh caused a lot of discomfort for me. So I would have to put like ointment on and then like a pad in between, or even like, I think it was like cotton balls, or I don't know what I put in between, but I definitely, like this was really uncomfortable for the first few months of wearing it. I will say I did feel beautiful in it. A lot of times when you are nursing and pumping, you feel like a gross cow and just like not cute. And so this was a great option for me just so I could feel nice. This is not a cheap bra either, but I liked it enough to keep it. You definitely should look into signing up for emails anytime you go on these websites, and also just do a quick search like Dairy Fairy coupon, and you will almost always be able to find some coupon code, whether it be 10, 20%. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up quickly, especially when you're buying a bunch of stuff in the middle of the night while you're nursing and you're bored, you feel like you deserve it. So this one, I did keep this. I liked it enough to keep. I still could also wear this even though I'm not nursing anymore or pumping. And that's always a plus. usually women are like done with pumping and nursing. They're like, throw the bras to the side, and they're like, I'm over it. I actually wouldn't mind still wearing it just because it is pretty. Another one of my favorite bras, I didn't wear this that much just because I felt like my boobs were so big at the time that any additional padding was just like too much. But I will say this was a great bra. This was the Simple Wishes. It's like a lacy, it's kind of looking tired, but this is a lace one. This was great, or is great still, because one, again, you can also nurse or do your breast pumping with it. But this is padded, so if your nipples are out of control, these are a good job of like concealing the nipples. So you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to see them. They won't be like a distraction. This is a great comfortable bra. This to me was the most secure bra. So if I was walking around with one of these dangling while I was using the Ameda Mya, this actually kept everything in place, whereas a lot of the bras, like this one especially, didn't really hold things in place while I was walking around. I could also fit the Elvie in this one too if I wanted to. But this has the most support. This one also covers the nipples and was the most secure while pumping, and it's also really beautiful. So you can go to their website and purchase this. I think this was the Simple Wishes again. I think they also have this on Amazon as well. The next bra, this is the Gap Body. I think it's a Gap Body nursing bra. I love these bras. I don't know, I think this is the seamless. This is seamless. So I was wearing like a 36 or 34 double D at the time, and I could still wear the smalls. So I usually like things looser just because I stopped wearing underwires a long time ago. And so this is the best option for me, where it's not cutting into my body. It's not super restrictive, but it's also got enough support where I feel like I'm being held in. I actually wore this pumping a lot. So a lot of times I would I think if you're pumping, just sit, enjoy yourself, relax, get a book, pull up, whatever, Instagram, just relax, because you're already doing so much to begin with. You might as well just give yourself a break. I feel like for moms, especially, they're trying to do everything all the time, and pumping is just some time to just like an excuse to just chill the fuck out. So do that for yourself. But anyway, if you are just chilling out and you're wearing a bra that's comfortable, this one's a great option. This is a seamless Gap Fit maternity nursing bra. And just so you know, like, you can also wear some of the, you can wear a lot of the nursing bras for pumping too. So this one's got the snap. This one has this long like thing where it's on one side of your boob. What I would do is I would put the pump here, and then I would actually close the snap, and it will stay in place pretty securely. So you don't even necessarily have to get a pumping bra per se if you're not planning on walking around, but like this did a really good job just being held in place. So this is the nursing bra. It works well. You can finagle it. And the good thing about this bra too is some of the other bras I got on Amazon, after a while, the stretchiness just kind of quit. The stretchiness has still been pretty strong with this one. I have this in black and nude, and I could literally wear this while not pumping or breastfeeding. Like, I like this bra so much. I'm actually gonna buy a couple more because I know we're gonna have another, but I will also be able to wear it while I'm not pumping or breastfeeding. So there's that. So that's it for the pumping and nursing section for things to consider purchasing. As far as nursing and pumping, just to go through a quick run through of what my experience was, I had a really tough time nursing, really tough time pumping for the first, I'd say, 6 months of Teo's life. When I first had him, I think it took 3 days for my milk to come in. But at the hospital, one of the nurses, I had several different lactation consultants come in and out, and each time I felt like I learned something new. I was there, I think, 2 days because he was born at like right after midnight, and because because I was in labor and my water broke and he was in there for 36 hours, they were afraid that there was going to be some kind of infection. So they actually let us stay one extra night, which in a lot of people's mind, like, oh, you have to stay an extra night. But had I not, I wouldn't have had more access to lactation consultants. And that was very helpful because literally every time somebody came in, I feel like I was able to get a little bit further along in my nursing experience. And I don't know, I think a lot of moms, it comes easily where they can just put the baby on and the baby just latches. But for me, he didn't latch at first. He had a tongue tie. I mean, I think I went through thrush and all kinds of stuff. I had like, my nipples were bleeding for several days at one point. I had one nurse come in and say, oh, just leave him on there for as long as you can. And then eventually eventually your milk will come in. That was not good advice because my nipples were so raw at that point that anytime he would actually latch, and it just was so painful. So yeah. So I ended up pumping for the first 5 months of his life. I did pump I did try to nurse like once a week just so that my body could get used to how much he actually needed. And so I noticed that my supply actually went up because every time he would nurse a little bit more and a little bit longer. And so my body was like, ooh, you need to make more. So I did find that the more I did nurse, the more my supply went up. I did the whole thing where I would pump for 30 minutes on each side to try to get my supply up, and eventually it did. So I think a lot of moms, they get really discouraged when they pump and they only see like barely an ounce after they've been pumping for 30 minutes on each side, and it's very discouraging. But ladies, just know when you're pumping, your body will produce however much the baby actually needs. So unless you're a super producer, which there are a lot of ladies that produce a ton off the bat without having to, pump for extra amount of time, like just know if you're only producing like an ounce, a couple ounces each time, like eventually your body will produce more as the baby gets older and needs more milk. I'm not a specialist. Definitely consult a lactation consultant, but this is my experience from my friends and a lot of women I know that get super discouraged. And so just know if you're only pumping a little bit at a time early on, that's normal. But your lactation consultant can tell you like different things you can eat, drink to produce more. I mean, I would say definitely drink a lot of water. I got a lot of my friends those big gallon jugs, and that's huge. Like the more water you drink, the more you'll be able to produce too, hopefully. I think I had like goat's roux, and they said no fenugreek for me just because I have really low blood pressure. So talk to your person, talk to a lactation consultant, see what they say, but they can help guide you through that process. What's another thing? Oh, but I did end up, after just pumping almost exclusively for 5 months, at some point I was like, I really just want to try breast pump or nursing again, and I did. So I ended up doing the lie down, like the side position where I would lay down, and then the baby would be laying right next to me, and I would just like plop my boob into his mouth. And for me, that was very comfortable, for one, and then secondly, not having to hold him all the time, and I could kind of just like lay there and relax. That was the best position for me because I had a Boppy. I refused to get the breast friend because I had already gotten the Boppy as a gift, and I didn't want to have like 5 different breast pumping, like all these different pillows around. So I just refused to get the breast friend. I know I should have gotten it, but I didn't. And so I'm stubborn, whatever. But I found that it was really difficult to get the proper positioning. And so the lying down position, I always knew that I was going to be in the right position. Like it was so much less of like finagling. And so try that out. You can look it up online. They can give you more specifics on how to nurse while lying down. But yeah, I could literally be ordering all my stuff on Amazon while I was nursing him. And it was just a really great way to bond and lay there. And eventually he would pass out, and And it was just sweet to just be able to lay there with him, and not just have my arm here and, you know, your shoulder and neck's all messed up and stuff. So try it out. If you need to switch sides, I would just take the baby, roll him to the other side, and then readjust. Super simple. Versus like, make sure the neck's like this, make sure the head's like this, make sure arms like this, make sure there's something here. Like, it was just too much. But laying down was great, and I hope you try it, and I hope it works for you. Look it up online, talk to a doctor or lactation consultant, because I'm not a medical professional, but it really helped for me. Okay, I think that's it for the breastfeeding and pumping and bra edition of tutorials. Hope this was helpful.